All right. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. As always, I'm your host, Adam Smith, with Just the Tips Coaching. And I shouldn't say always, because there is the occasional episode where our marketing director, our other coach, superhuman, brand new redhead, Jen Waybor Hart, will boot me off the show and bring on a guest that she wants to have and doesn't want me to interfere with. And we've got a really cool guest for you guys today. Someone who, and this blew my mind, who has not yet been on our show, which seemed weird to me because it felt like Erin had been, but has actually never done a podcast before. So we are popping her cherry, as it were. Welcome to the wide world of podcasting, Erin Henderson.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, we're pretty excited about this.
And this is really fun.
I can't remember what the TV advertisement is, but there's a guy that's listening to podcasts and sharing about all the hey, did you know there's a podcast about tea? And did you know there's a podcast about cats? And I can't remember what the commercial was for, but there are so many podcasts out there. I mean, ours is, little speck on the map in comparison to, the Will Ferrell and Joe Rogan and the Manning brothers, the Peyton and Eli Manning, on and on. That you've never been on one is kind of cool. We're breaching this with you.
I know. I listen to them all the time. Like it's part of my morning routine, but I've just never had the opportunity. So thank you.
Oh, that's cool. It's part of my evening routine.
Is it?
It literally says podcast on my calendar, and it pops up every evening, and I try and go catch typically a colleague's podcast, see what other people in the mortgage space or real estate space or coaching space, mortgage and real estate coaching space are doing. But yeah, no, I just think it's my better option, particularly if I'm in the car.
Yeah, I agree. I used to just solely do music, and now I'm like, well, I have all this time. I should just pay attention.
Yeah.
Absorb what's going to improve my life.
Well, and on long drives, like we were discussing before we went live, Audible. Jen turned me on to Audible years ago, and it's out of this world, no question. I still have half a dozen credits that I need to use, but I'm not the bookworm that Jen is by any means. So, all right. So, Erin, let's break this down so that you and our audience kind of have a grip on what goes on here in case we do have any new listeners. But we really try to focus on people that are going to help our audience with ideas, content, information, circumnavigating lead generation, team structure, what makes them successful in their business. And just so you're aware, we do have a vetting process, which somehow you managed to get through, or you never would have gotten an invitation to be on the show. And that invitation was probably a year ago.
Yeah.
Because I think Jen has us booked through this year. We're about a year out, and we probably do 40 or 45 episodes a year. So there's some demand, I guess would be one way to describe it. But yeah, just the tips. What we really focus on is tactical, tractional things you can be doing to increase your business, to improve your team structure with what I would say are really three different tiers. And maybe Jen will correct me because she's as hands-on with our coaching clients as I am. But the first thing we really want to see all our coaching clients obtain is having a strict repeat and referral business. They're not buying internet leads. They're not on the fucking grocery cart, and they're not at a bus stop. By the way, guys, people who ride the bus probably aren't buying homes in whatever market you're in. So let's just reel that one back in. I still see it all the time. Maybe you have a bus bench in Beverly Hills. I don't know. That could be something that would. You're not going to get them a house in Beverly Hills, but you might be able to get them a house in East Los Angeles or Compton. I don't know. I don't know enough about LA to answer that question. So I think that's a big deal, is getting to a point where your business is strictly repeat and referral. The second is to really get to a point where you're only doing things you love to do or pay you well, high dollar activity. And I think it's important for everybody to understand, if you're new to the podcast, if you're new to any direct to consumer large ticket item sales gig, is that if you're in real estate, for example, you don't need to know how to negotiate an inspection objection if you don't have buyers and sellers. No need for you to know that. If you're in the mortgage space, there is no need for you to know how to price out a loan, how to structure a loan. If you don't have any buyers and borrowers, there's no need for it.
Fair.
The neat thing about all of that is that if you focus on your lead gen, if you focus on finding buyers and sellers, pretty much everything that is a byproduct of that is something you can pay someone else to do. So get to a point where you're only doing things you love. And granted, I spend years doing activities that I would now consider low dollar activities, but I love to do them. It actually took Jen and the rest of our team kind of kicking me in the ass to unload some of it. And then I would say that the real pinnacle to all of this, for all of you, Aaron included, Jen included, myself included, is to build a business that you can walk away from while it still pays you. And maybe even a little better, if you try to interject yourself back in it, you're going to screw it up because the people that you've brought onto your team have carried their jobs further than you did while you were present. They're better than when you started working together. So that's really it. And I think that as far as what our audience would like to know is, where did Erin come from? What is her background? How did she get into this goofball business? How did she start getting business? How does she get business now? What does her team look like? Because they already know that we've vetted you, that you're doing some business. So hit us up, Erin. Where do you come from? How'd you get into real estate? I know you're from Pittsburgh.
True. Okay. I am born and raised.
I love the Three Rivers area. Beautiful part of the world.
It is.
A fan of the weather.
Weather's the worst.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even think I realized how bad the weather was until I moved here. And I was like, oh, it's not always gray and cloudy. And
no, it is everywhere that's not here.
Right. And I was like, oh, you don't have to live your winters this way. Yeah, so I was born and raised in Pittsburgh and then moved out here in 2004. So I've been here, it'll be 20 years in September, which is just crazy. So I've lived here more than anywhere else. Yeah, let's see, I have an amazing husband and like the best daughter on the planet, Aubrey, who just turned 9 last week.
You're about to have a birthday too, if memory serves.
That's right.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah.
29 is the big one. We don't want to miss it.
No, I'm going to be 44 and I'm totally okay with that.
Cool. How did you get into real estate?
So interestingly, I kind of and I would imagine this is the majority of the people that you speak with and the people that I know just kind of fell into it. I went to college for communications. It seemed to be the only route of like something that I felt any connection to, and didn't really have a direction. And so I kind of took that and then did a couple like, I don't know, office-y kind of jobs a long, long time ago, and then fell into the liquor and service industry space. And did that for the majority of my adult life, really. And then during COVID, that industry just was non-existent anymore. It wasn't even an option. And I had gotten to the point where like I was in a really, really fortunate position where, if I wanted a new job, I could call most people and, I had done it long enough. I had enough experience and I was able to get a job, but there just weren't any. And literally all restaurants were closed. I was working for a brand at the time. I was working for Milagro Tequila. And, they had given us a little bit of a heads up and said, hey, you're eliminating your position. It's COVID. And you have like 2 months severance and, it just kind of clicked like, holy shit, I need to figure out what I'm going to do. So I just really sat and thought about the things that I liked about my previous job, or all the jobs really in the past, which was, being able to hang out with people and, kind of incorporating my passion for real estate. So like I was able to purchase my first home in Pittsburgh when I was 21. And then my husband and I owned a home here, and then we had bought another one. So like it was just something that like going through that process I really enjoyed. And I was like, okay, well, I think I can do this. And I was like, well, I have the time, right? It's COVID. I have nothing time to sit here and figure out like, okay, I'll just take the course, right? So it was all virtual. I did it online. I really spent like it was a full-time job for me. So like 40 hours a week, just kind of locked in my office, just taking the classes and learning all this stuff. And as I was going through it, I was like, oh, I really like this. Like, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it. I was like, I love this. So then it just kind of clicked. And then a couple months later, bam, real estate.
Okay. So, Jen, did you have any idea that Erin had only been doing this since the pandemic?
No.
Okay.
That's what I was sitting here thinking like the whole time.
Yeah, your acumen and your production thus far for such a short period of time is really badass.
Thank you. I've been really fortunate.
Okay, and obviously not real easy to get out and meet people during the pandemic either.
No.
So where did it start? Where did your first clients come from?
Yeah. So interestingly, I mean, what during COVID was when I kind of was like studying and doing all this stuff. So really by the time I finished everything, it was like the end of 2020. And then, so really I started in 21, basically like January 1st. And I primarily got business from doing open houses. I was like,
brilliant.
Where can I go and meet people? And it was kind of this like perfect storm of like everybody's so excited to be back out in the world again, and and so rates were 2.5%, 3%, and I mean the market was just getting flooded with buyers. And so every open house I would do, and it's come to my attention, now and even then, that it wasn't common to have a lot of success with open houses, and so I don't know what the magic sauce was for that, but I think it was just really making a connection with people and keeping it casual, kind of like the liquor industry, right? And so that kind of steamrolled a little bit and then just started. I literally in the beginning, I had zero intention of working with anybody I knew. I was like, I'm brand new. Why in the world would they want to work with me? And then as time progressed, it started to become more referral and friends and all that. So.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit because Jen and I are going to vehemently disagree with you. We think open houses are fucking brilliant if they're being done properly.
Yep.
And yeah, guys, this open houses are not a technique to sell that house. Open houses should be a technique to generate leads, add your audience, build up your database, let people know who you really are. And that's a big piece of the puzzle of what you just said, is that you were just casual and had fun with it like you had in the liquor business.
Right.
And that's what people want. We're tired of being sold to, and people do still want to buy. They just don't want to be sold. So if you're able to do something, and this is for all of you, if you're able to do something like open houses where you're really able to give an audience, if that happens to be people coming through an open house, so be it, a real taste of who you are, because they already know what you do. You're at the open house. There's no reason to talk about real estate. They know what you do. And you can really kind of help them figure out who you are. There are going to be people that you click with. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think Jen and I would say that open houses are actually pretty badass lead gen, audience building opportunities, no question.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming that those initial clients that came from that activity have generated repeat business, have referred you more business.
Yep.
And then obviously as time went on, the people who actually do know you prior to real estate have also sought out your expertise. Buying a house, selling a house, these kinds of things. And it's funny because new real estate agents have that mentality that I'm new to this. Why would anybody want to use me? But and we talk a lot about the doctor model. Be the doctor. You make a doctor's appointment, all of you make a doctor's appointment. You see the person at the front desk, you check in, you see the billing person, you see the person that makes your next appointment, you see the nurse, you see the doctor for 5 out of 60 minutes. So that's something that we really want to work on when it comes to our lead gen and our team structure, et cetera. But be the doctor in the sense that I would prefer a 40, about to be 44-year-old doctor to the 80-year-old doctor. This guy was not in school when the medical technology that reigns supreme today was accessible.
Right.
And all of you that are newer agents, it has changed. It has developed. We do things a little differently than we did 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And while we have continuing education requirements across that industry, across all of these industries, you have a wealth of knowledge coming out of real estate school that is fresh in your mind. And I think so many agents adopt that same attitude. Well, I'm new, so nobody would want to work with me. And that's not true. You're the one with the freshest knowledge. Get out there and don't be selfish with it. Share it with all the people you know, you like, you love, in your circles, in your family, in your tribes, because you have that information. Help them with it.
Yeah.
Share it with them. Don't be selfish.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. I think one of the things for me was that we have, an amazing friend group, but within that group, we have a handful of other realtors that our friends have worked with. And I think, the expectation was, I didn't want to infiltrate that group that way because I wanted to have that respect for the other people that I used to purchase our houses in the past. Right. So I just felt like, okay, if they want to come to me after a certain time, great, but that's not going to be my focus. And everybody knows 1,000 agents, right? So I was like, okay, I'm just going to prove myself outside of my sphere in a different way. And then if they want to come and work with me, I would obviously love that, right? And they have, and it's been amazing. So
that's because of who you are, not what you do, right?
Getting there, yep.
Okay. So yeah, that's probably one of the biggest things we try and get people to understand and focus on is, guys, your audience knows you're a real estate agent, that you're in real estate, that you're in mortgages. If your audience doesn't know that, we got to go back to Marketing 101 anyway.
Right.
But because we're so tired of being somebody's target audience, because we're so tired of being sold, even though we want to buy, we care a lot more about who you are than what you do.
100%.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think being genuine is hands down the biggest thing that I think has gotten me business, right? Like I actually do care about all these people and like how buying or selling real estate is going to change their lives.
Lives. And when you're worried about them, it keeps you up at night.
It literally does.
And you have real estate dreams.
Yes. Just like, when you worked in restaurants, I don't know if you've ever worked in restaurants and you have those dreams where you're staying in the well and tickets are just coming at you. Very similar.
It's that's more of a nightmare than a dream, but yeah, I have, and Jen has too. We've done the bar and restaurant gig, absolutely, and mad respect for everyone who has, because that is a crash course in a lot of things. A lot of them that Jen and I feel are valuable in what we all do today. When I'm looking to add to my operations team, I open my eyes and ears quite a bit more to servers. Good attitude, work ethic, attention to detail, can juggle multiple tasks. I think people that work in bars and restaurants got it going on.
And I would say I probably wouldn't have been able to do this job until now. Like, I think the skill set that I acquired doing all those other things and just the life experience, like this job, I couldn't have done it in my 20s. I probably couldn't have done it in my 30s. So I'm really, timing wise, it just kind of aligned. And I feel like I really developed all the traits that I needed to like make this work.
Erin, would you say that today your business is strictly repeat and referral?
I mean, no, because I still do open houses. So yeah, I mean, and I love them. Because
I'm not sure that's kind of in a gray area in between, because you're not spending any money, you're not buying leads, you're not advertising, you're not marketing,
right?
You're prospecting, and that's kind of where we draw the line here as well. Is the difference between marketing and prospecting. And in my mind, marketing means dollars,
right?
Okay, so I don't know. I think I would consider open houses part of a repeat and referral business, Jen.
Yeah, I would agree.
right? So I would say,
Yep.
yeah, it probably is.
Well, then in that case, yes.
Okay, cool. I love that. Tell us a little bit about your team. What does it look like? Are you out there rogue doing it all by yourself?
Yeah. So interestingly, so I have a partner that I work with, and we really, so my team is called the Henderson Home Group, but it's primarily me. I have a TC, and then I have a partner who we just kind of work together. We don't necessarily share any of our, business clients necessarily. Sometimes we'll refer back and forth if it makes sense. But her and I met at an open house actually right when we both started. And she was there doing a showing with some clients, and she had asked to use the bathroom. And I was like, sure. And then we just started chatting, and we just kind of connected, and we just kept staying in touch. And then over the course of time, she was not thrilled with where she was, like in terms of her brokerage and what she was getting. And I was like, well, come over. I'm a guide. It was BSW when I first started, and I've always been there. And I was like, come over, it's awesome. And let's work together, and we can, just try to figure this thing out together, because there's a lot to figure out.
There's a lot to figure out.
Yeah. So I figured two heads are better than one. So we just kind of tag team. And now, our businesses are autonomous, but we really do a lot of stuff on the back end together, which I think is really helpful.
Same TC?
Yes.
You guys are sharing a TC?
Yep.
Cool. Okay.
Yep.
And it's literally just the three of you making it work.
We're trying. Yeah.
Erin, you're killing it.
Oh, thanks.
You're fairly new to the business. Your business is essentially repeat and referral. Are there any other lead gen techniques, tactics outside of open houses you want to talk about that you're having?
No, I honestly, I'm trying to figure out how to implement other ways of just kind of reaching people. I know that YouTube and social media and all those things, but I am like a very analog person. I will post like pictures of my daughter and my dogs in a couple random houses on social, and that's like as far as like my tech abilities have allowed me to go, which is one of the nice things too about partnering with Nicole, is that she's 10 years younger than me. She's much more involved in like social and that world. And so she makes fun of me for being on Facebook, and she's like, it's Instagram and YouTube. And I'm like, I can't. So I'm trying to maybe figure out how to make that work. But otherwise, no, it's really repeat and referral. And then if you have any suggestions, I'm totally open.
Hey, Jen.
I think we both disagree on the Facebook comment. Sorry, Adam. Because I'm 34, and even my primary audience is still on Facebook. I've got a lot going on Instagram, but I have to nurture it a lot more.
Yeah.
Your people are on Facebook, so yeah. Of course, it sounds like you could be doing more on Facebook, but I would disagree. I would not discount Facebook at all.
Yeah. Well, I don't. I think for me, it's great, but she makes fun of me because it's this antiquated old.
Okay, Jen, don't tell Erin, who is apparently a self-described Luddite, that she is currently on a video cast live streaming to Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube at the same time.
It's blowing my mind.
Which is about to be converted to a podcast for Apple, Spotify, and Amazon, because she would never believe that the technology is going to enable her to hit all these platforms with so much ease. Don't tell her.
It's true.
All right, I won't tell her.
Okay.
And I told my daughter too, because she's 9, so she's a YouTube fanatic. And I don't even ever go on YouTube, not ever. And so I don't even really know how it works. But I was like, Mama's gonna be on YouTube. And she was like, oh my God. Like that might be the pinnacle of my career for her. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
My youngest he's just a little younger. He's about to be 9.
Yeah.
Is in that same genre, and he will actually live stream the building of VR video games to his YouTube channel. Yep. That's over. I'm a techie guy, and that went over my head. Erin, I'm not going to be able to explain it any better than that to you. My self-described Luddite. But there was an episode, Jen and I are doing the podcast. He's home sick for the day, finds out that we're streaming live on YouTube.
Yeah.
And he must have made 300 comments over the 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
You know what?
Out of this world.
I was very conscious to not mention to Aubrey that it was going to be live right now that she could watch, because I was like, she's just going to be blah, blah, blah. So I was like, we'll just do it later.
Well, the good news is Jen's an expert at regulating that.
Oh, good.
So yeah, we've got that. All right. So Jen, what's coming down the pike? What are you going to adopt and implement in the next year or two? Are we looking for any growth? Are we going to implement some new ideas to stay in front of our audience better? What do you got out there that you want to grasp onto? What's the next technique, tactic, activity once we've mastered open houses?
Yep. So, I think that for me, what I've recognized to be my greatest strength is just being with people, right? It's what I actually love to do. And so my whole intention for this year is to just spend more time events and going to happy hours and hanging out and just actually like immersing myself within the people that I actually care about and that I want to spend time with. And my hope is that will translate into them continuing to refer me and, continuing to understand that they do know what's going on in Smirkin, and then I can help them, which feels really nice. But that's my intention. And then, trying to just pick up the phone a little bit more. I think that's going to be really important for me.
Oh, it's really important.
Yeah,
and those are actually two of our favorite techniques.
Yeah. Oh, good.
The contact management stuff we focus on very, very heavily.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I would say that in the classic practice what you preach kind of avenue, I still get more business and do more lead gen work picking up the phone than any other single technique or tactic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's such an uncomfortable thing to do, I think, initially. And then you just have to realize, like, well, it's just kind of like just talking to somebody in person, right? So
yeah. And for you and for everyone else listening, Jen and I recommend Overcoming Call Reluctance. Great book by a colleague and one of my former coaches that I think is, in fact, when he wrote it, he said, you got to read it. And I said, I don't have any call reluctance. And he said, yeah, you do. After decades of doing that. And he's like, yeah, you do. And he was right. I still do have things that I need to get better at and overcome in order to make that more viable, more productive. Let's put it that way. I think you'd kill it on the social media, but I was sure you were going to tell us that your very easy hair care routine was going to be on that list. I guess we'll have to save that for the next episode, but
I'm sure
we will certainly do
crazy.
that. But yeah, Erin, for you, for everybody else out there, pick up the phone. There's money at the other end of that line. I promise.
Yep.
All right. What else?
What else do you want to know?
Where you're headed. What's the goal? How many units do you want to do this year?
I mean, it's interesting. Everybody says set goals and all the things. And my goal is
I suck at it. Don't get me wrong.
I'm the worst because I'm not a numbers driven person. And so for me, my goal is more just to kind of match what I've been doing and to feel good about what I'm doing and to just be able to live in this real estate space that's super competitive that people are getting out of left and right. I mean, I just want to be able to stay where I am. I'm still so new. And so just really focusing on consistency a little bit more than I have, just because when I first started, it was like fly by the seat of my pants and trying to figure this shit out. And, now that I'm figuring that piece of it out and being able to actually take some time and like really kind of put some structure into my business, I think is going to be a huge goal for me. I don't have a number in my head. I want to keep doing what I'm doing and asking, being asked to be on podcasts. So,
cool. Well, that's working. Excellent. And we're actually going to ask you to do it again.
Oh, that's so
crazy. Nice. I know. And I'll bet you I have a little bit more of the technology stuff under your belt by then too.
We'll see. I'm going to try to figure out this AI thing. I think that's going to be huge.
Now we do a module on AI in our program, and
Yeah.
Jen is killing it with AI, but Jen obviously heavily focuses on graphics and video and these kinds of things. She cannot get AI to make a good zebra, but for some
And
reason,
those poor yoga students last week that I created.
oh boy, they were all twisted like pretzels. That is, you should share that just in a what not to do in yoga.
Right.
If you
right.
have
one of them looked like it was birthing itself. One
if you have a
was
lower
missing
leg
a foot.
coming out of your rectum, you're doing yoga wrong.
Wow.
Yeah, they were so bad. That was Canva AI. I was
know.
really that I thought it had gotten a lot better, but those yoga students were uncomfortable to say the least. It was bad.
It made my body hurt just looking at the images that Canva's AI created of yoga poses. Yes,
Sounds like
that was rough. All right, Jen, what else do we want to share with people? We covered Aaron. We covered your red hair. That's probably all that's
it, right?
the really big
that's
stuff.
it.
All right.
Yeah. This Thursday, we have our first ever public Tip of the Tips masterclass. That's at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. And since apparently no one knows what Mountain Time is, that's 3 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Pacific. Mountain Time's the little lost time zone over here.
It's like being Gen X.
That's true.
We're the lost time zone.
That's true. I actually, side note, I saw some TikToks this weekend about Gen Zers that are like, we're becoming more and more like millennials because they're feeling old because of Gen Alpha. And it was just amusing. Like Gen Z is actually starting to get into their 20s, which makes me feel old. But
yeah,
that's all I'm in there.
They're going to have to buy Advil soon.
Right? I actually read next year is the start of Generation Beta.
Oh. Wow.
2025 is Gen Beta. Anyway, Thursday, 1 p.m. Mountain Time is the Tip of the Tips Masterclass. It is $69 for an hour and a half class with us, literally going over our coaching program. Start to finish, you'll walk away with a ton of stuff that you can implement in your business right away, some ideas to further explore, but everything from contact management to AI to event planning, podcasting, social media, all of it. So that is on Thursday. And you can get the link. If you just go to justthetipscoaching.com, you can buy your ticket or text tips to 63566 and it's in there too. But yeah, that's Thursday.
Cool.
Somehow.
That's exciting.
Thursday. Yeah.
It's already February. I don't know how that happened. Although January did have 99 days in it. So
yes, it did.
God,
it absolutely
that month was the longest year of my life.
Yep.
I feel the same way.
Cool. Well, thanks, Aaron. I know it's not easy to carve out this kind of time on a Monday morning for us to do this. And we do this in a very different manner, obviously. And I'm sure now people will be beating down your door to get you on their podcast, right? And most of them are recorded and edited, that kind of thing. And while we do have some editing, we do it live, which is really, really unique. Not a lot of podcasts start this way. So we've got that going, and you did really well.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you got one under your belt now.
You did easy. Super painless.
Right. Well, Jen, get Aaron booked for another episode because that'll be a gas. And who knows what color your hair will be at that point.
Me? Oh, Jen. Yeah.
Oh, Jen, right? Yeah. That was a surprise to me this morning for sure. I'm out of the loop with what goes on in my office. Everybody knows, and Adam's always the last to know, which is fine. That's kind of how it goes at home too. I'm used to it. So yeah, otherwise, thank you so much, Aaron. And for the rest of you listening live, watching live, or in syndication, you can catch us live on Mondays at 10:30 Mountain Time. That's 12:30 Eastern for those of you that don't know that there is a time zone in the mountain region. Or 9:30 Pacific Time for those of you that don't know there's a time zone in the mountain region. And otherwise, use our text code, text tips to 63566 to catch all kinds of other things about us, past episodes of this show, our video blog, The Weekly Little Tip. You can get a copy of the books I've written if you are a reader. We already covered that as well today. And that's probably about all the things. Cool. And Jen is dying for speakers and sponsors for Social Media Day. That's June 14th.
June 14th.
June 4th.
Yep.
Nailed it.
Favorite day.
Yep.
And that's one of Jen's projects and babies is Social Media Day. And you can get information about that by going to socialmediadaydenver.com.
SM Day Denver, or just email me smdaydenver@gmail.com if you're interested.
Right.
But yeah, we are still looking for speakers and sponsors, and we'll be launching all of that very soon. So yeah.
All right. Well, that's it from our end. Tune in next time for another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage, and we'll see you guys then.
Thanks, guys.